Good morning from Big Sky Country. I'm Stacy, owner of Montana Used Bricks. And this video is kind of a what would you do video. And this is based actually on some videos I was watching on Brickstar's channel where he had his largest Bricklink order ever, and it was over 6,000 parts, but it was only around 50 to 60 lots, and they pretty much bought out all the parts in each lot. And as I watched his video, I thought, wow, that's a great order. But then he did a follow-up video and he said that he invoiced the buyer, but they hadn't paid yet, and he was getting a little nervous. And I kind of cringed a little bit because I thought, oh man, if that person doesn't pay, he's got to put these 6,000 parts back, which then got me to thinking, how would I handle that situation? And I've been in similar situations where I've had really large orders, and if I'm not familiar with the buyer, if it's somebody who's bought from me before, I'm not going to worry about it. I'm going to invoice them. I'll pull the order, do everything as you normally would with an order. If it's somebody I'm not familiar with, I'm going to go and look at their feedback. And if they have a lot of feedback and it doesn't look like they've ever had any issues with paying for their order, I'll go ahead and do the process of pulling it and invoicing it. But I have had a couple of times where they've been fairly new buyers, very little feedback, and I'm really nervous about pulling a 1,000 part order in 300 lots because you have to spend a lot of time pulling that order. And if for some reason they back out and they want to cancel, you've got to put all those parts back. Or you have to go through the non-paying buyer process, which can take a couple of weeks, and you aren't able to sell those parts because they're tied up in this process that you have to go through when it's a non-paying buyer. In those cases where it's somebody with a very low feedback or even a new one and they're buying a lot of parts, what I'm going to do is I am going to look at the parts, the size of the parts, the weight of all the parts, and then I'm going to estimate the shipping, and then I'm going to overestimate a little bit when I put it on the invoice. Then I'm going to invoice them, and I will not pull it until they have actually paid. I've only had to do this maybe 4 or 5 times each time they've paid. And the reason I do this is because when I first started, they didn't have instant checkout. Everything was manual invoice, and there were a couple of orders that I pulled and then the buyer didn't pay. And I either canceled the order and grumbled the whole time I was putting the parts away, or I did the non-paying buyer, and like I said, those parts were tied up until we went through that process. So this is kind of a what would you do video. And how would you handle that situation? Would you just go ahead, pull the parts, get everything ready for shipping, and then invoice them? Or would you do an estimate of the shipping and then invoice them and wait for them to pay before you pulled it? I would be curious as to what you would do, so if you would put that in the comments below, I would appreciate it, because maybe I'm doing this all wrong. Maybe I shouldn't be invoicing them even though I haven't pulled the parts yet, but I don't have a lot of free time. I work a full-time job. This is just my side gig. So I don't want to be wasting my time pulling parts and putting them back. I really don't have anything else this week. I've been kind of down and out with a sinus infection, so I'm definitely playing catch up this week, so I don't have a huge long video for you, but I do hope to have a normal video for you next week. I hope everybody is having an awesome week, and it is filled with lots of love, laughter, and Lego. Bye.